Well, as far as being as parables, it's really important in interpretation to think what is the genre of the passage you're interpreting. By genre, we mean a type. And we use genre in our everyday life. So for example, if you're thinking about, movies, I know that in a certain genre of a movie, I know what it's going to be like. For example, if it's a war movie, I know what it's going to be like. There's going to be lots of fighting, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be violent, it's going to be very intense. I also know what an animated movie is going to be like. I know what a comedy is going to be like. But the other thing with genre is we also tend to have expectations with interpretation. We know how to interpret them. So for example, in a romantic comedy, in the middle of the movie, the couple will probably break up. We're not sad because we know that in a romantic comedy, they're going to get back together in the end. Sort of in the same way, like in a horror movie, you're looking at the person and you're thinking like, don't open that door, there's something bad behind the door. And so one of the big things with parables is we have to think as a genre. How do we interpret it? And so a couple things about interpreting the genre is one, cultural background. We need to know who's in the story and what are some of the points of reference there. So for example, when Jesus tells the parable of the Good Samaritan, it's not just that a person did a good deed. The point is that it's a Samaritan, the hated Samaritan, is doing the good deed, and that the lawyer has to admit it. And so part of the genre just means as we're thinking about the reaction of the audience, in this case the Samaritan, in this case the lawyer, we have to realize that the lawyer is going to be confronted because Jesus wants him to expand his understanding of what it means to be a neighbor and who his neighbors are. Another example we might get is in the parable of the Prodigal Son, a very well-known parable. And so we know that you have the younger son who squanders his father's money. He comes back home. The father is very welcoming to him. But you also have the elder brother who's a bit disgruntled because he says, look at what this younger son has done, and I've always been with you. I've always done what you asked, and how can you, do this for him? And then if you were to look back in the text of Luke, you sort of see that, Jesus is telling this parable to the Pharisees and the scribes. And the Pharisees and the scribes they're grumbling to Jesus, saying, how can you, this man, eats and associates with these sinners? And then you realize that, there's this association between the elder brother and the Pharisees, and just like the elder brother, the Pharisees are the ones who don't want to show grace. And so then I think that can kind of confront us too, because when we're thinking like, when I don't want to show grace or when I'm grumbling about something, is it because I'm kind of like the Pharisees who don't want to show grace in that regard? I can get caught up in, it's not fair, but maybe really what's happening is in my heart, I don't want to show grace.